Hello students, I am again here with one more important question for your Java interview preparation. See, the question is like this: difference between final, finally and finalize. This is very much important question, always keep in mind. Okay, because see, these three words looks very similar, but there is a difference in between these three words like final, finally and finalize. Now what does it mean? What is the exact difference that I am going to explain now? The first thing is final. First, this final is a keyword. Actually this is a modifier. You know, Java is having multiple modifiers like public, private, protected. Again static is again a modifier. In the same way, this final is a modifier and that is applicable for variables, then methods and classes. Means we can use this final modifier along with variables, methods and classes. Suppose we are declaring any variable as a final, then that will become a constant. Means see, suppose I have declared one variable like integer x equals to 10 and I am attaching here final modifier while declaring that variable, then in this case x will become a constant, and in the program suppose you are just changing the value of that x, then compiler will generate error there because x is now constant. You cannot modify its value. Reassignment to the x variable is not allowed after declaration of x in this way. Getting? Suppose you are not writing here final, then okay fine, you can modify the value of that x because variable means its value can be changed during execution of a program. But because of final keyword, final modifier, now this x is a constant. Getting? This is the use of final modifier. If we are using that final modifier along with variable, then that will become a constant. Now the next thing is method. Means we can also use this final modifier along with method declaration. How? Let in a class I am declaring any method as a final. Suppose let class x, and here there is one method, let void m1. Okay, here I am just writing any code. Now to this method also I can attach a final keyword, but before that just see one thing. I am just going to inherit that class, means I am just extending that class, like let class y extends x. Now here I can redefine this method. Yes, of course it is allowed. We can redefine a method whatever defined inside base, that we can write again inside derived class. Actually this is the concept of method overriding. Okay, let any base class or you can say parent class is having a method defined and the same method you are redefining in a child class, then that is the concept of method overriding. And suppose you are overriding any method, then there you can write a new code whatever you want for that extended class. But if you are attaching here final keyword with method declaration, means now this method is a final method. You cannot do like this, means you cannot override a final method in a child class. Now this is not allowed. Here you will get error. Getting? This is the use of final keyword or final modifier along with methods. Means if you have declared any method as a final, then you cannot override that method in a child class. You are just restricting that method to be overridden in child class. Getting? Now the last one is classes. Means we can apply this final keyword while declaring a class also. Suppose we have declared any class as a final, let class x, and let I am declaring a class test here suppose. Then we can easily extend that class, we can easily inherit that class. How? Here we will just write class y suppose and extends test. No problem. Whatever traits of that test class will automatically come inside derived class and everything. Inheritance is possible here in this case. But suppose while declaring this class I am attaching here final modifier, means now this class is a final class, means we are just restricting that class from inheritance. Means now we cannot extend that class, we cannot inherit that class because we have written here final modifier. Means if any class is declared as a final, then that class cannot be inherited, cannot be extended. Getting? Means this final keyword, final modifier we can use while declaring variables, methods and classes to just give their restrictions. Okay, means see, if we have declared any variable as a final, then that will become a constant and its value cannot be modified throughout the execution of a program. If we have declared any method as a final, then that method we cannot override in a child class. And if we have declared any class as a final, then that class is a final class, you cannot extend that class. Getting? This is the use of final modifier. Now the next one is finally. Now see, this finally is a block. Okay, it is used in exception handling. Means we handle the exceptions with the help of try catch block. Okay, we handle the exceptions with the help of try catch block like this, try catch, and here we have to write like exception E, any type of exception you can write here, and then here you can put a finally block. Normally we write the risky code, means where the exception may occur, means the code where there is a possibility of exception, that we write inside a try block. For example, suppose you are opening any file, means that file not found exception may occur in that case. Suppose you are just dividing any number, and if the second number is 0, get it, means that denominator is 0, then you may get there divide by 0 exception. Means that is nothing but a arithmetic exception. There are multiple types of exceptions. That code you have to put inside this try block, and that is nothing but a risky code, you can say. Risky code means where there is a risk, where there is a possibility of exception. That code we have to put inside try block. And the catch block means if exception occurs, then what is to be executed, that we normally write inside a catch block. Means here we will write exception handling code. Okay, and finally this is a block where we have to write resource deallocation code. It is also called as a cleanup code. Whether the exception is occurring, not occurring, in every case the finally block will always gets executed. Means suppose exception has occurred inside a try block, then automatically control will be shifted inside catch block. There may be any number of catch blocks. Okay, because as per the number of exception may occur inside try block, you can write any number of catch blocks according to the types of exceptions to handle multiple types of exceptions. Whatever catch block which with respect to that exception, that will be executed, and then finally block will get executed. Suppose exception has not occurred inside a try block, then no problem, the try block that will get executed fully, then finally block will get executed. After that, if any code is there, then that rest of the code will get executed properly and the program will get terminated normally if any exception is occurring, not occurring, in every case. Getting? Means finally block is actually for resource deallocation or for cleanup code. Suppose you have just given here any message like bye. Okay, system.out.println and bye. Always that code will get executed. Whether this catch block is getting executed, not executed, means whether exception is occurring, not occurring, in every case that finally block will get executed. Suppose you want that some code should be executed, compulsory executed, whether exception is occurring, not occurring, in every case, then that code you can put inside a finally block that will get always executed. That is finally keyword. Means finally is a block that we put along with try catch block, and inside finally block we can put a code which you want to execute compulsory in every case, whether the exception is occurring, not occurring. Normally there we put resource deallocation code or cleanup code. Getting? Now the last one is finalize. After finalize, I have placed here parentheses. What does it mean? This is a method. Always keep in mind, finalize is a method which is defined inside a object class. This is object class method. Whatever classes you are creating in Java program, all classes are derived from object class. Object class is the base class for all classes. Okay, now here there is a method finalize which is already written inside a object class, and when it will be called, see, Java is having one very much important, very much powerful feature, that is Java is having automatic garbage collection. There is a garbage collector inside JVM, and that will always be looking at whether there is any object which is not in use, then it will just destroy that object. Means garbage collector is doing its duty, that always it will destroy the object which is not in use. But before destruction of any object, suppose you want that something should be executed, then you can write that task inside a finalize method, because garbage collector always call finalize method before destruction of every object. If any object is going to be destroyed of that class, then you want that something should be executed before destruction by the garbage collector, then you have to write that code inside a finalize method. You have to just override that finalize method in your class, and you can write whatever code you want to execute before destruction of that object by the garbage collector. That code you can write inside that finalize method. Getting? Now finalize is a method of object class. You can override that, and that will be called automatically by garbage collector. Garbage collector will call that method always. Obj1 is the object, then obj1 dot finalize. In this way, automatically it will call. There is no need to call it explicitly before destruction of that particular object. Getting? Normally we have to write that resource deallocation code or cleanup code inside that finalize method. Why? Because suppose any object has allocated some resources, like suppose any database connection is there along with that object, then that should be deallocated, that should be released first. That database connection should be closed, and then that object should be destroyed. That task you can write inside a finalize method. That finalize method first will be called by that garbage collector for that object, and then that object will be destroyed. Means inside that finalize method you can put resource deallocation code, or you can say that again cleanup code. Now what is this finalize? Finalize is a method of object class which is called by the garbage collector always just before destruction of any object. Garbage collector will call that method. Getting? Now what is the difference between finally and finalize? I think you have the full idea about this question. Now you are ready to give answer to this question. But again I am repeating, see, final is a modifier that can be used along with a variable declaration or method or class. If any variable is a final, then that will be the constant. You cannot modify its value during execution of a program. If any method declared as a final, you cannot override in child class. If any class is declared as a final, you cannot extend that class. Okay, the next one is finally is a block. It is used along with try catch block. Okay, and there again we write resource deallocation code, and finalize is a method of object class, and that will be called by the garbage collector before just destruction of the object. Getting? Now in the next video I am just going to explain again one more important question for your Java interview. Till that, take care. Bye bye. Thank you.